Hi there. This is going to be the video on the circulatory system. So everybody's doing a report on a body system. I've chosen to do the circulatory system. And just a heads up, this is way more detail than you need in your presentation. On your next exam, there's going to be a lot of questions about the circulatory system and then some really general questions on the other systems. So you need this worksheet. It should have been in your mailbox, and you will also find it in Brightspace in the same spot that you found this video. And we're going to go through it together and fill in the blanks as we go. All right, the main job of the circulatory system is to move things around the body. It's as simple as that. So it moves oxygen to our cells. It comes in through your lungs, and then it goes into your blood, and the blood moves it around the body to each of your individual cells. It's important because we need that oxygen to burn the sugar that we use as energy. Then the carbon dioxide is produced by that process, and we need to send that back out. It comes from the cells. It's carried by the blood, and then it goes out through your lungs again. We need food, right? The food goes in your digestive system. It's broken down into small enough particles, and as it goes through your small intestine, a lot of it is absorbed, and it goes into the blood system from there. Our cells produce waste. Carbon dioxide is one of them, but also just old cell parts they don't need, other wastes that the cells produce. For example, your white blood cells are killing off all kinds of bacteria. That's the stuff your body needs to get rid of, and your blood system will help with that. We have hormones like insulin, testosterone, oxytocin. Those specifically are endocrine hormones, and they're ones that are used throughout your entire body. Now, if you're familiar, insulin controls your blood sugar. Testosterone is kind of like the male hormone. When males hit puberty, their testosterone levels increase, and that's when they get the Adam's apple, and their voice deepens, and they start to get more and more facial hair, and they get more muscular and stuff like that. Oxytocin is the one they call the love hormone. It's the one that's released when women have babies, or apparently if you look into the eyes of a sweet little puppy dog, and you go, oh, that's oxytocin. It's a hormone. Okay. Your body also releases heat. So when you get really hot and your skin turns red, that's the blood vessels near the surface dilating or getting bigger, and it allows it to release heat. And of course, your circulatory system helps to fight off infection, and that's because you carry all your white blood cells and your antibodies are carried around. Come on, there we go. All right, the main parts of the circulatory system. Well, you know most of them already. You got the heart, and that's the part that does all the pumping. Any vessel that leaves your heart is called an artery. So in this, in here they're shown as in red, and this is actually the aorta where it's leaving. But even when it leaves the deoxygenated blood leaves your heart to go to the lungs to pick up oxygen, that's still an artery. Arteries in general are thicker than any of your veins. They're very elastic because as the blood pumps, there's kind of this swoosh of blood that has to go through the vessels, so they have to expand a little bit and contract. Okay. On the other hand, we have veins. They are anything that's returning. I'm pointing at the screen. And better use my mouse. Anything that's got blood coming back. Okay. And they are going to have thinner vessels. Blood going through them is generally, it's not as high pressure, and it's usually a darker color. Now, in between, and it's really hard to see in here, but it's the best picture I could find anywhere, are what are called capillaries. Hold on. Nope. Sorry, I thought maybe I could click on the slide and make it bigger. So your arteries, they break up into arterioles, so smaller ones, and they keep branching until they get to the point where they're called capillaries. And those are so small, you can see all those little things. Those are all cells. Like they're small enough that they're on a cellular level. And that's the point where the oxygen diffuses out and into the cells, and the carbon dioxide diffuses from the cells back into the blood vessels. The components of blood. Well, you got the red blood cell. Okay, a life cycle of 120 days. Oh, I should mention this presentation was originally made by Shannon and Pam, and I just modified it for our use. Anyway, life cycle of 120 days. They carry protein. No. They carry oxygen. They're the main ones. Hemoglobin is the actual chemical on the red blood cell that's being carried, and our bones produce more of them. Hold on. Sorry, I shouldn't do that in the middle of the video, but look at that. That is what a red blood cell looks like. It's called a biconcave disc. It actually looks a little bit like a donut, but without a hole in it. Just saying. Yes, I made that. It's crocheted. Okay, back to the lesson. The white blood cells, those fight off disease and infection. So if you ever had an infection and you see pus and stuff like that, that's white blood cells. They're there. They're trying to fight off all the infection. Platelets, they protect your body from blood loss. They actually are little cells that are cruising around with your blood. And if they hit something ragged, they will break apart and they release some chemicals that attracts more platelets. And as they break apart, they actually get kind of stringy and they form a net. So when you have a scab or something like that, what it actually is the platelets form a net and it fills up with red blood cells. And that's what actually plugs the hole. And also the liquid part it makes up is called plasma, and it makes up the volume of the blood. And plasma itself is about 90% water. All your electrolytes and pretty much minerals and stuff, that's all carried by the plasma. All right, so composition of whole blood. The liquid part is about 55%. You've got your white blood cells and platelets is a small percent, and your red blood cells is about 41%. If you've ever gone to the doctor and they want an RBC count, red blood cell, that means they're looking to see what number you actually have. If you don't have enough, it's usually called anemia, and you get like really pale looking and tired all the time, and that's because you don't have enough red blood cells to carry the oxygen throughout your system. All right, the path that the blood travels. Again, compared to your presentations, this is way more detailed, but this is the stuff that's going to be on your test. So the blood enters the heart from the vena cava and enters the right atrium. So atriums are always where the blood enters. And if you've ever been to like a big fancy hotel, that part at the beginning where, you know, they've got the desk and there's usually some nice tables and stuff like that, that's called an atrium. So atriums are for entries. And then it goes through a valve and into the right ventricle. Between each of the 4 chambers of the heart, there's always a valve, and basically it prevents backwash because that ventricle is about to squeeze. Over here is about to squeeze, and when that squeezes, if there's nothing stopping it, the blood was just going to go backwash. So there needs to be a valve in there to shut that down, so it only goes in one direction. The ventricles in general are bigger and have thicker walls in the atrium, and again, they do all the pumping. And then the right ventricle sends the blood out to the lungs via what are called the pulmonary arteries. Remember, if it's leaving the heart, it's called an artery. All right, so blood gets to the lungs and it drops off the carbon dioxide and some heat, and it's going to pick up oxygen. Okay, both of those, the carbon dioxide and the oxygen, move because of diffusion. So in your lungs, there's more oxygen in there than there is in your blood. So diffusion is from areas of high concentration to low concentration. So the oxygen will just diffuse over. Okay, same thing with the CO2, but in reverse. Then the blood returns to the heart via the pulmonary veins, and it re-enters the heart going through the left atrium and the left ventricle. Okay, and the left ventricle is the one that pumps the blood into the aorta, and then it leaves and goes off to the body. And we're going to watch a short video. It's actually a really good one that shows you how all the vessels, all the parts work together. There it comes.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
Veins are blood vessels containing blood flowing to the heart, while arteries have blood flowing from the heart. The blue is representative of blood vessels containing deoxygenated blood, while the red blood vessels have oxygenated blood fresh from the lungs. Now, let's follow the path of the blood through the heart. The superior vena cava receives blood from the head, neck, upper limbs, and chest. Meanwhile, the inferior vena cava receives blood from the trunk, viscera, and lower limbs. Both the superior and inferior vena cava end up in the right atrium, one of the 4 chambers of the heart. The heart not only has 4 chambers, it also has 4 valves. The purpose of the valves is to keep blood moving in the right direction and not flow backwards. Blood exits the right atrium through the tricuspid valve, so called because it has 3 flaps, and enters the right ventricle. The blood exits the right ventricle through the pulmonary valve and enters the pulmonary artery. Again, it is an artery because blood is flowing away from the heart, but it is blue because it lacks oxygen. The pulmonary artery then splits into the left and right pulmonary arteries, which go to each respective lung. In the lungs, gas exchange occurs. The blood discards carbon dioxide and picks up oxygen. Now, blood comes back from the lungs through the pulmonary veins, entering the left atrium. Next, the blood is pumped into the left ventricle through the mitral or bicuspid valve. Finally, the oxygenated blood leaves the left ventricle through the aortic semilunar valve, entering the aortic arch. The aorta, which is the largest of all the arteries, distributes the oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. The aortic arch has 3 major branches, which supply the head and arms with blood. Then the aorta curls downward behind the heart, forming the descending aorta, which descends through the chest and continues down through the abdomen. In the abdomen, the descending aorta splits to supply the pelvis and legs with blood.
If you like this video, please.
Hold on. Oh, there we go. Back to the PowerPoint. Okay, I thought that was a really good video. It's short and to the point. All right, part of your presentation has to talk about how your body systems work together. Circulatory system is super easy because it transports stuff, so it works with almost everything else in that way. So for one, it supplies oxygen and nutrients to the body, working with the respiratory system. Now, I should have added to that also the digestive system. So oxygen is going to come from the respiratory system, and the nutrients are coming through the digestive system. Hormones that are produced by the endocrine system are transported throughout the body by the circulatory system. Okay, endocrine hormones are really easy to tell if it's a hormone that affects a whole bunch of systems, it's an endocrine hormone. So for example, if you get really excited or scared, your body is going to produce a whole lot of adrenaline, and that's produced by 2 little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. But when you get adrenaline, when it's released, because, I don't know, there's a bear going to attack you, your body will do a whole bunch of things. Your heart rate, I believe, goes up. Your blood pressure goes up. Your digestive system shuts down, right? The bear's about to attack. You don't need to digest food at that point. Your pupils will dilate. I can't remember what else there is, but there's a bunch of things that all happen at once. And if a bunch of things happen, then it's probably an endocrine system. And it also says the circulatory system helps carry waste and carbon dioxide out of the body. And if you're getting rid of waste, that is the excretory system. So none of these body systems work by themselves. They all work in concert with the other ones. Fun facts provided by Pam and Shannon about the circulatory system. A woman's heart beats faster than a man's. Every second, 3 million blood cells are destroyed within the human body. Remember, those are being reproduced by the marrow in your bones. In a diagram, the left and right sides are always reversed. So remember that when you're doing the diagram, that's coming up right after in part of your worksheet, sorry. And human blood has the same level of salts and minerals as seawater. Scientists think that is, it's evidence that we probably evolved in the water, because it just seems way too weird that our levels of salts and minerals would match seawater so much. And that is the end of the video.